Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is about me walking 10,000 steps every day for a whole month. So in today's video, I'm going to cover why I wanted to do the 10k steps a day for a month challenge, my expectations before doing the challenge, the how, so the method, the results, which I'm really excited about, and where do I go from here. So first off, let me just say that this was a super duper exciting challenge. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the video and start with the why. So the first and most important reason for me to want to do this challenge was that I have been having for quite some time now a low level of activity. So before the pandemic in 2020, which is a while ago, I used to be really active. I worked as a group class instructor at a gym and I loved working out and I had so much fun being physically active, and it was a huge part of my life. And then the pandemic came and then the gym closed and things sort of spiraled after that. With me being sick a lot, I gained some weight and I was just really inactive, and getting back into the gym post-pandemic has been a challenge. First and foremost because I haven't had the motivation, because I have been suffering from really bad migraines and health problems, which has made physical activity, working out, getting into the fitness lifestyle again really difficult. Vigorous activity is really difficult for me because they trigger migraines, yada yada yada. I've been so out of shape, which hasn't really done anything for my motivation to work out again. And most importantly, I wanted to find a activity that was enjoyable and that I was actually able to do. So I decided to do the 10,000 steps a day for a month challenge because I wanted to improve my health, both physically and mentally, and I wanted to start a fun challenge that I was actually able to complete with success. And the reason why I chose 10,000 steps was because it was an elevated challenge from the activity that I was getting normally, without it being too much activity. So I am a student, which means that normally a little bit of an inactive lifestyle. So perfect for me. And so my expectations going into this challenge, I had a few expectations beforehand. Number one was that I was afraid it was going to be time consuming. Before, I used to love doing high impact workouts in a short period of time. So like interval training and stuff like that, which is super effective, but not that time consuming. And so it was a little bit obvious that you'd have to walk for a while to gain those 10,000 steps a day. And also I live in Norway, so one expectation and maybe fear was that it was going to be cold and bored because I was planning to walk a lot outside. And truthfully, that was a really realistic expectation, especially the being cold part. I was also a little bit scared and curious to find out whether or not this would trigger my migraines and if those triggers would lessen over time, meaning would I increase my tolerance for physical activity. I also had a expectation that this would help me lose weight. At least I was hoping that it would, and I was hoping and expecting that this would help me gain a little bit more motivation in my health and weight loss journey, because an important part of this journey of walking 10,000 steps a day was to lose a little bit of weight in a healthy, sustainable way that wasn't too heavy on my body. And I'm sure you're wondering about the how. So how did I walk 10,000 steps a day for a month? For some people, this might be a super easy challenge if you're being really active in your work or your everyday life. But I also think it is important to acknowledge that for a lot of people, 10,000 steps a day is a bit of a challenge. And for me, it definitely was. Like I mentioned, I'm a student and I work with social media, which usually is done over my phone or computer, and that definitely set this framework for being inactive a lot. So 10,000 steps a day for me was something that I had to work on. So the first and most important method, I guess, that I was using were fitness trackers. So maybe you know this, but on your iPhone, and I'm sure on most modern phones in the health app, you can actually go in and see how many steps a day you walk. The only drawback is that you'd have to keep your phone on your body for it to be able to track. So when you go to the toilet or go in the shower and stuff like that, it wouldn't be able to track, right? But it is a tool that if you don't have anything else, you should definitely check that out. But the tool that I used the most was actually are these called a fitness watch, a pulse watch? So this is the Polar Vantage M. Not gonna go into much detail of the watch other than the fact that it does track how many steps a day that you are taking. So this was super duper helpful, and it kept track of every little step that you do during the day. And I think it's really important to know that when you go to school, walk to the bus, go to the toilet, go to the cafeteria to buy some lunch, it of course does count into your total calculation of steps. And so keeping track of this on a watch was super helpful. And a lot of times I was quite surprised at how much I was walking, even though I thought I was quite inactive. And another really important step, quite literally, in this challenge was using good shoes. So these are some pair of Levity shoes that I got from my best friend. This was absolutely essential because obviously I was walking a lot, especially when I went on walks or hikes. I was in desperate need of good shoes and able to make this work. In the beginning, I didn't use good shoes all the time, and I definitely felt that in a negative way on my feet. So I highly recommend, if you are able to use a pair of good sneakers, do that. And as I mentioned, most of my walking was done outside because I just found it so much more enjoyable. I did do the treadmill a couple of times. I hated it. I just absolutely hated it. So boring to walk inside with the same space around you, no change in the environment at all, for maybe an hour, hour and a half. Not for me. And eventually I started to go on hikes, and these were not long or vigorous hikes at all, but I did find them quite enjoyable. And I did take a lot of stairs. Sometimes I hop on the bus maybe a stop later or earlier in order to get in a few extra steps in my day. And so instead of taking the bus to my friend, I would walk instead. And I found that even shopping is a great thing to do if you want to get in your steps. And on the days that I was able to do a workout, aerobics or spinning and stuff like that did of course help as well, which sometimes is a very nice way to get some variation. And so another thing that I did was I wrote down every day the steps that I took. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for a whole month I kept myself accountable. And another huge thing for me was listening to podcasts. So this was a thing that I started with really early on because I wanted to keep my walking time a little bit productive, and I found it really enjoyable going on walks and hikes and listening to podcasts. And I don't think I could have done this without the podcast. And so eventually I actually got myself a walking belt. But yeah, using workout clothing made me feel a little bit more sporty, especially in the beginning when I was feeling lazy and drowsy and just blah. And the most important, most exciting part of this video, the results. What were the results of me walking 10,000 steps every single day for a whole month? Well, truthfully, the result amazed me. I felt happier, way more healthy, and more motivated to stay that way, and more motivated to keep doing good things for my health, because I really felt the change that I wanted to feel, and I didn't want to go back. The walking 10,000 steps a day challenge really improved my diet because it motivated me to make good choices, not only in the terms of being active, but also in the terms of what are my diet like, what are my habits like, which again in turn helped on my overall health and well-being. And the challenge definitely helped improve my fitness and overall tolerance to physical activity. So in the beginning of the challenge, 10,000 steps a day or even a few steps a day would trigger my migraines. In the end of the challenge, it hardly did. So it obviously had a huge impact on that, which made me feel really good because I was now able to do pretty basic stuff, but without me being ruined for the rest of the day. And I was actually super excited to learn that I lost 4 kilograms. So I lost 4 kilograms after walking 10,000 steps a day for a month and incorporating healthier foods. And the walking definitely helped me being in a calorie deficit without it being too much for my body. I didn't want to strain it too much, and it feels really nice to have succeeded at a goal that I set myself. Spending all that time out in nature was really good for my mental health. It just made me appreciate life so much more, and I loved being outside even though the weather was really not that great. And I just eventually really looked forward to walking those 10,000 steps a day. It's a great way to have some thinking time for yourself, alone time. And eventually I started to ask some friends, family members, they wanted to go on walks with me, which made it a really nice way to be social and have social interactions while you were actually being physical active. Multitasking, and most importantly, it has been fun and enjoyable. And where do I go from here? It feels really good to complete a goal that you have set yourself. So I'm really happy that I did finish this challenge. So I definitely will be keeping up my walking in my everyday life. However, I have stopped using my Polar watch, and instead I am now using a Whoop band, a fitness tracker. I recommend googling that and doing research on Whoop fitness trackers. And so now instead of tracking steps, I am tracking strain, which is just another way of keeping track of your activity level. And I will continue to incorporate physical activity in the way of walking in my everyday life, because I have found that walking has been a very enjoyable physical activity. Hopefully in the future though, I will be able to do more physical activity in the form of a workout, so more vigorous activity. I will not be doing a lot of treadmill walking. I hated it, but walking in the woods and out in nature is a really enjoyable way to get in some physical activity, especially now in the summer and the fall. I can't promise I will during the winter. I do live in Norway. It is a little bit cold. And so if you are curious about doing a challenge like this, it doesn't have to be 10,000 steps a day. It could be 15 or it could be 5. It's solely up to you and your activity level and your goals for the future and right now. So my 3 tips would be: number 1, use a fitness tracker of some sort. So for example, with your iPhone or watch, and write down your steps. Hold yourself accountable so that you know that on Tuesday you did walk those 10,000 steps. And number 2 is listening to podcasts and or audiobooks. That just made the walking so much more enjoyable and durable. And number 3, do your walking outside if possible, even on the days where the weather is not that great. I really did enjoy walking outside way more than walking inside. I could never ever in my wildest dreams have been able to finish a 10k step every day for a month walking on a treadmill. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Maybe you are inspired to incorporate more physical activity into your life now as well. I would love to hear your recommendations on fun new challenges. So if you have one of those, leave it in the comment section below for me to find. But yeah, most of all, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I really hope that I will see you again in my next video. Bye!